We do want to welcome in our political panel tonight. Lots to talk about. We have Republican strategist John Thomas and News Nation political contributor Kurt Bardella. Welcome both. Kurt, why don't we start with you tonight? You brought an interesting perspective to us last weekend. You said that we should be concerned about the federalization of D.C., but you said, hey, I also want a safer situation for your family. You said you empathize. What is your take now?
Yeah, I mean, we're in back to school mode here, and a lot of time is being spent thinking about our kids. And I can tell you, as someone who takes kids to the park, as I did yesterday, I don't want to see parks overrun with homelessness. I don't want to see parks overrun with, people with no place to go, but also suffer from very severe mental health issues. That's a dangerous place to take your kids. You're not going to want to do that. The failure of many municipalities and many layers of government to address this is why we are in this situation right now. And when you think about the nation's capital being the nation's doorstep, that's not the image you want to project, homelessness overrunning the nation's capital. So I get why some of this is happening. On the flip side, I always caution those who cheer on the expansion of executive power, because at some point that executive power can be used for other means and other ways. It's why traditional conservatives are against the expansion of executive power. They're against the empowering of the executive branch. They want a smaller, more limited government that is governed by those closest to the people. So there are those who are cheering this on right now, think it's necessary, think it's important, think it will keep us safer. But just remember that when at some point, whether it's this president or the one after that, uses this same executive power for something else that you may not agree with.
All right. So, John, what is your take here on the expanded executive power? President Trump says he may ask Congress to extend federal control over police in D.C. beyond 30 days. Do you agree with that move?
I do, in the sense of I travel to DC a lot, and I can tell you it's palpable in the sense of there's a general sense of unease in that community that something bad, crime related, can happen to any one of us at any time. And you see these incidents popping up time and time again in the city, and President Trump stepping up to try to make a difference. I wish what we saw from both the Trump administration and local law enforcement was an effort to collaborate, because I actually think the show of force is a good thing. It's essentially applying Bill Bratton's broken windows theory from New York, which is, a deterrent effect. Come in and say crime's not tolerated here. And that kind of thing works. And I think working together, they actually could make a meaningful difference so that it's not a permanent occupation by the federal law enforcement rather than a temporary one to bring tensions down. But instead, you've got local electeds that see this as anything that Trump does must be horrible, and they're focused on fighting Trump instead of coming together to find a solution, which is to make people feel more safe.
All right, John, I do want to stay with you on another topic, and then I want to get Kurt's take. Yesterday's summit in Alaska. No ceasefire or peace deal coming from the high-stakes meeting. President Trump had said that if he didn't leave with a ceasefire deal, that it wouldn't be a success. Now he is saying that this was a 10 out of 10. Help us parse through that.
Sure. Well, I'm not surprised the president said it's a 10 out of 10. But the deal is, this is diplomacy in action. They've started communication. You can't get to a ceasefire or a peace deal without coming together. President Trump said that they agreed on all things, but there's a couple things they disagreed. He also said that he wouldn't accept a ceasefire. He thinks we can get straight to a peace deal. So this is hard. We saw that with the original Zelensky meeting months ago that kind of fell apart. Look, this is President Trump focused on trying to bring peace together. It's baby steps. I think we just got to give Trump time to see what happens. Zelensky's coming to town. Look, there's baby steps here. We also know that President Trump is likely to amp up sanctions on Russia to get what he wants if he doesn't get progress with Putin.
Okay, so Kurt, Trump's saying that he wants a complete peace deal based on Ukraine ceding land to Russia. European leaders reiterating a nation's borders cannot change through force. Critics saying that Trump is already aligning himself with Putin now. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Zelensky has been pretty consistent for a long period of time saying, I'm not going to accept any deal that changes our borders. I don't know how you move him off of that. I think ultimately Donald Trump has a lot riding on this. Foreign policy is where legacies are made. And oftentimes the legacy in foreign policy outlasts whatever happened on your watch, domestically speaking. When we think about Ronald Reagan, we think about the fall of the Soviet Union. When we think about George H.W. Bush, we think of Operation Desert Storm. We think of George W. Bush, obviously Iraq, Afghanistan, 9/11. When we think of Biden, Ukraine is going to be tied to that. how this ends up going, how this ends ultimately is going to be what Donald Trump is judged on. If it ends ultimately with some sort of deal, whether it's today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, or a year from now, no one's going to remember the squabbles along the way and the will they, won't they, storylines that pop up when these meetings happen. If nothing ends up happening, if this thing is prolonged by years, then people will judge Donald Trump on his failure to get a deal done. Because again, he set the expectation when he ran for president that he would be able to get a deal done on day one. We know that was hyperbole, but he will be judged by his promises that he made on the campaign and whether they actually were effectuated.
All right, Kurt Bardella, John Thomas, appreciate you both. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good weekend.